Coach Kav, and welcome back to episode 3. I'm here with Coach Matusz from Ohio State University, one of the top football programs in the country, and obviously it's cool to be in the big horseshoe.
Columbus, Ohio.
That's right, man. It's the home of strength, is what I like to call it. I don't know anybody up here that's weak. So while we're here, we want to talk some strength, talk some football conditioning, and talk some of the things that you guys do to have one of the best programs in the country. So if you wouldn't mind, tell me a little bit about yourself and
Absolutely. I mean, I appreciate you coming to the Woody Hayes Athletic Center and putting your time online. But my name is Phil Matusz. I'm the Associate Director of Strength and Conditioning here at Ohio State. And a little bit about myself. This is my 3rd season here, and I came from Villanova University, where I was the head strength coach for 2.5 seasons. A little bit about myself growing up. I'm actually from Western PA, about 3 hours from here, pretty close to Youngstown, Ohio. From my hometown, Greenville, I went to Villanova and I actually played ball there. So I played from 05 to 09, and then.
So there's some good years, though.
Yeah,
you had some good football there.
Good years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't talk about the early days, but 05 and 06, we only had a few wins on our belt. But as we became older, we started getting better, and then 09 was actually the first ever national championship year for Villanova. So I was pretty cool to be a part of that and be a senior and a.
So what's it like? Obviously, having that playing experience is key. Then you go and you coach at your alma mater, you run that program there and continue that success on. But then you come from, one of the 1AA top programs in the country to the top program in the country at the Ohio State University.
It's definitely a different experience. How I got into the field was I was very, very close with all my high school coaches, loved training, loved everything about it, and then went to college and got really, really close with my strength coach. And my mentor, who I started training under, was my strength coach in college. His name is Justice Gallick, and he's actually the head strength coach for the New York Jets. So learning from him, actually being able to be coached by him as a player, and then work under him was a complete 180, because it's what we see as players and what we see as coaches is completely different.
So when that perspective change, obviously you've been in the trenches, and then then we talk about on the coaching side, like we're in the trenches now coaching. It's different when you got your hand in the dirt versus you telling people where to put their hand and go to work.
So you go.
What was that transition like for you?
It was tough. It was tough because you go from, obviously I respected him so much, and I looked up to him, and then actually pushed me into this profession. And then, working for him was a complete 180, because basically you go from, I went from being a national champion, All-American, and then I go back to being low man on the totem pole. So you have to kind of go back to that mindset of keeping your mouth shut and opening up your ears, and then you have to process and you have to be a yes sir kind of guy. And moving up through the ranks, that's how it still is,
It's very similar to what you're dealing with as an athlete. Most of the kids, I would say every single kid that comes here on the football side is the best kid in the area, in the country.
Absolutely.
That's what you're getting.
Yeah.
And you go from knowing everything to, hey, I'm the dude, I get the video, I get the paper, to coming here, and the 4th guy in the depth chart might be the best player at any other school in the country.
Any other school.
That you went through that shift as a player, you went through that shift as a coach. What do you think that shift's like for a kid coming in here?
I mean, it's for an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid going through this system and this program at this caliber, it's pretty difficult. It's extremely difficult. And for the kid that isn't mature enough, he's not going to survive here unless he changes that mindset and changes his behavior and his attitude and his efforts. And then once they start to align, their careers here at Ohio State, they just climb.
It seems that way. It seems like everybody that is here is successful in one way or the other. I mean, whether it be on the field, I think as a product, as a team, you guys put out one of the best products there is and has ever been. But as a person, it seems like those guys definitely, something transfers from a winning standpoint, from a championship standpoint, from a not only the competitiveness, which I think you got to have to be in an environment like this with you every day. A Tuesday is basically some people's hell, and it's what makes them good, right? It's the competitive spirit, but it's also like that winning mentality, right? So what do you think that is, though? Like, I mean, you've been at a program as a player where you weren't a national even a national championship contender to winning a national championship. Obviously, you've seen that shift. You come here, and I mean, it is. I mean, it's a place that you will mature quickly because of the pressure, but it's also a place where you'll learn so much because of the resources and just the quality. What's that like?
For the kids, we always talk about recruiting. When they get here, it almost tends to be de-recruiting. We have to de-recruit them. Be okay. If I tell you every single day what you've done up to today isn't good enough, how hard would you work that day?
I'd get after it. I'm getting after it.
Now I see you tomorrow morning, and you spilled it yesterday. You did everything you could, and I tell you again, what you have done up to this day is not good enough. How are you going to train?
I'm going to get after it.
You're going to get after it. So that's kind of the mentality. It's what you've done forth is not good enough, and then if you keep pushing yourself and you set a standard, a very, very high standard for you and yourself and your goals, and then if you become a leader, you have the power and the ability to create a contagious attitude and work ethic. And if we set a very high bar, all of a sudden we get these top players in that are extremely gifted, but if we get them to work at that capacity, all of a sudden genetic potential goes through the roof and everyone meets it.
So now you talked about de-recruiting, right? Because it's the mindset shift. It's like I'm the greatest, and I'm the best that ever come out of my hometown, right? You know, and you got commercials after me in this area. Absolutely, right? And you go from that to I suck, to I'm not that good anymore, to I'm the best in the country. I come here to I'm not the best kid in my unit. Mm-hmm. So talk about units for a second. You talk about creating that competition. You create competitions within, is it linebacker unit? Is it a combo unit? Do you have O-line work together? How do you do it?
Based on here, our head strength coach does a great job of creating a lot of friction. So it's always, how can I maximize you that day? How can I get this unit to perform better? So our model from the top down, from our head coach to our head strength coach to all of our position coaches, is 9 units strong. So it's based around small unit cohesion and making that unit as strong as it can be. So when it comes time for game day on Saturdays, when coach, before we hit the field, we're in the locker room, we have 9 leaders, all players, and 9 coaches, and they're at maximum capacity. They're performed, they're prepared, they're ready for this moment. So they're at their potential every single Saturday. So when coach gives a break, he puts his arm up, all 9 leaders, they put their arms in, they get a break. We got to be 9 strong on Saturday.
And they're all working together.
And they're all working together. So it's about you and what you bring to that unit. It's not about, oh, I'm a defensive lineman, I'm going to worry about our slot receiver or our running back. No, you're a D lineman, you need to worry about the defensive line unit and what you bring to that unit and how you can make that unit perform better
every day. So you talked about something interesting. You said friction. We're in a society today where, in my opinion, everyone's soft. I mean, I also say it, you guys are getting soft as an athlete group. You're getting soft as coaches. You're getting soft as workers. But I mean, you're a high school kid. You think you got it, and frankly, I just don't think your coach is tough enough on you. So, at one of the best programs in the country, they're talking about friction every day. I mean, what about friction makes you good? Is it just the pressure? Is it constantly making sure that we're getting the best out of you? Do you think that if we laid back and just said you're great, would you get that? Or you guys think that if we put pressure, we're going to get, sharpen that sword, so to speak?
Well, every day is a mental test, right? When you get up, you have a decision to make. As soon as you hit that alarm clock, if you're mentally prepared, your self-talk in your head. So we don't realize how much we talk to ourselves every single day. As soon as you wake up, you're talking to yourself. You don't realize it, but you are. And that we tell our kids, that self-talk needs to be positive. It needs to be positive. Every day when you walk through these doors, you're going to get some sort of friction. You're going to get some sort of event that you didn't plan on happening, but we created it. So we, as coaches, we want to see your response. So in today's society, everyone's talking about, you're not working as hard. Kids aren't going out there and playing. They're not running and jumping. They're physically not prepared for this. They talk a big game. The cell phone has become a huge distraction in training. all they want to do is Instagram and
Do you let
tweet.
that in here? Like, do you bring that stuff?
Not.
So no
Absolutely
cell
not.
phones?
There's no cell phones in there.
Well, they can't post that they're working out? Because if they don't post they're working out, technically, in today's society, they didn't really do it, right?
I mean, when it comes time to train, they walk through that door ready to train.
No
Nothing.
Snapchat,
Nope,
no
nothing.
Instagram,
They
no
are
way I'm getting after
they
my
are
boys.
shut down from the world.
And taking that away and isolating them with a group of guys that only want one thing, right? Because as a group, independently, there's guys in here that they make millions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
You finish at a program like this, you're putting yourself in a position to make a lot of money. Whether you're the backup or whether you're a Heisman candidate. There's no doubt about it. But it's putting together a group of guys that all want the same thing because they understand as a group, even if you're selfish, like even if you self-talk positive, I'm going to be the greatest, I'm going to be the best, the cohesion that you guys create between those 9 units ends up making everybody better, and everybody being better increases that standard every day.
Absolutely. For guys, I mean, they're so young, but they're also very, very mature. You talk about JT Barrett, you're talking about a very mature, very focused individual. And you look around, you see a room like this, you see these very talented players, but you also see some guys that are grown up, they're a grown man, and they're 19, 20 years old. But then you have the same kid who's 19, 20 years old, but he's still mature. He's still not doing what we're asking him to do. He's not at his body weight. He doesn't go hard in training. He doesn't listen. Whenever we give him an instruction or we coach them really, really hard, they'll talk back or they'll roll their eyes or they'll lip smack or they'll turn their palms up, whatever it may be. You're not accepting coaching. Let me coach you as hard as I can and you accept it because I'm going to get you better. That's my goal. I'm your tool to be used in here and out on that field to maximize you. So if you're not listening to me, that's a problem. My goal is for you to hit that genetic potential and optimize you and your time here.
And every single kid in here is a genetic freak. And it's if they don't tap into the mental side of it, they don't get to utilize the physical side of it. And that's what we hear about it all the time, people that do things that are way outside their genetic potential, way outside what their physical state allows them to do. Yet in a building like this, you got some of the best athletes in the world, but if they don't tap into it, they become a very mature physical specimen, but not a very mature person. And if you don't have both of those elements, you don't get the optimal athlete.
Absolutely. So once you get those two qualities, put it into one individual, and then you put 11 of those guys on the field, some crazy and very impressive things can happen.
I mean, you become a bunch of badasses that do the right thing.
I mean,
My very first season was 2014, so we went 14-1 that year. We took a loss early to Virginia Tech in the Horseshoe, which is very, very rare.
It's tough to do.
And that was very tough. It was tough for the staff.
It's tough for the
It's tough for the
environment of
players.
the
It's tough for the university, and our players took it very personal. And like you saw how mature these guys were, because this is all they had. This is everything they invested into, and you saw after that loss, a bunch of guys come together and lock in for one deal. And we always talk about it in our meeting rooms, but if your habits don't reflect your goals and your dreams, you need to change your habits.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to get in shape, right, but I don't put the work in, if I want to get stronger, if I want to get the scholarship, if I don't put the work in, something's not going to add up.
And those guys were perfectly aligned. It was one game at a time, 1 week. Whatever needed to be done was done. And everybody handled their business accordingly, like a professional, what Coach talks about. So if we have guys that are coming in here and they're slacking around, not locked in, focused, we realign them. But the majority of the alignment comes from the players.
I was going to ask you that, like, how much of it is you being dad? How much is it you being like, hey, you got to smack him and crack the whip a little bit? And how much is it, hey, like, we committed to this goal. We committed to a university like this with a goal of being the best, and that's the best every day. Because, you talked to me about it, like creating friction daily. You want positive talk, but you want an environment change to increase, to enhance their experience daily. is it just, hey, every single day we're going to get after it? Every single day we're going to put forth the best effort so we get the most out of what we do?
The majority of our productivity is from this room, and the head ball coach believes it too, and that's the biggest support for us as strength coaches is we know he has our back no matter what happens. And all of our players respect our head strength coach, and he knows that his best interest for these guys is always number one. Whatever needs to be done to get these players right, he'll do it. And we sacrifice, all of our time, energy, we dump it all on these kids. We serve the players.
And you could see that not only in just the environment. I mean, this place is gorgeous. Like not just the place itself, but also in the people. Meeting you and the rest of the people that you have around you, the facilities, and it's definitely top down. You could see that, but you could also see it from your players. I mean, I walk in, I see a player that I know, who I've known since high school, and just the respect and the appreciation that you're going to be tough on him. And he's not going to like it, but he understands it's good for him. Yeah. And he understands that, hey, you kicking my ass today makes me better, not tomorrow, and not even this Saturday, but probably 2 years from now when there's an opportunity to have their name called someday, or at least maybe come training camp in 2 weeks from now, that you're going to be, you're going to be able to compete for that spot.
I mean, it's funny, like, you had the opportunity to see him outside just the other day. We were right over here. We were training, and next thing you know, he looks at his teammate. He says, "Coach Matusz is going to be in my wedding." Like at the ceremony, whatever. I said, "We'll see. We'll see. You're all talk now. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Hey, he's got to earn
we'll
that
see.
too.
Yep. I said, back to work.
And it's interesting though. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he tries to earn that, but he's going to earn that in a couple ways. He's going to earn that in just that relationship you guys have, but it's going to be built by you actually being tough on him. Mm-hmm. He's not going to like that feeling. Mm-hmm. So tell me what this place is like. I mean, it's empty right now. There are a couple guys getting after it, getting some extra work in. But what's this place like when the doors are shut and you got your players in here and you're getting after it?
It's a unique environment. It's very loud, and a lot's going on.
You can hear a pin drop right now.
Oh, absolutely. When we turn these things all the way up, you won't even be able to hear me.
You can't hear yourself think.
Right here. You won't be able to hear me. So I got to be in your ear. And we're in their ear.
And you're not a small dude, so that's not going to be.
I'm kind of slimmed down. Right
yeah, so you're not in playing shape. Yeah. But that intimidation, it's driven by love. You can see that, But it's also driven by, hey, I want you to be better. But this is what it's going to take. The intensity that you guys have, whether it be through the music or the atmosphere. What's the expectation of the players of you?
Well, as a program, there's a culture set, and we have it right here in the weight room. It's 4 to 6, A to B, so you have to go as hard as you can from point A to point B. So for example, this morning we did a dynamic warm up. Our players had their conditioning test yesterday. So yesterday at 4 p.m. So they're done around 5:30. First group in this morning was 5:45 and 7:45 a.m.
Gotcha.
So we had a short turnaround.
Yep.
So you as a player, you just finished your conditioning test. You're like, wow, okay, I just passed. Now what do you got to do? You got to go upstairs. You got to eat. You got to hydrate. You got to go to sleep in all your academics. But then you got to wake up early and get here at 5:45 or 7:45. You got to make your body weight. So you just had that run in about 85-degree heat. You probably lost 3-4 pounds. You got to eat, rehydrate, sleep, get back up, do it again, and get in here and make your body weight.
And you can't be, my body weight goal is 285, I can't be 283, I can't be 287, I gotta be 285.
Yep.
You gotta be right there on the dot. So that already, you have an obligation. So you might come in here and be like, oh, I know I'm light. I know I'm light. So if you don't hit that goal, there's going to be something that you got to do extra at the end.
There's going to be a consequence. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some friction.
And it's not going to be fun. So you already got guys that are coming in here and their demeanor's below the line.
Yep.
They're already upset because they know they're not going to make weight and they know they're going to have to push that board.
So you create a requirement, not just in the hour or 2 hours that you have them here, you create that requirement outside of here because it's a standard. Mm-hmm. So when they come back, you're able to get the most out of them. It's not just to be hard on them, but it's because you get the most out of them. You know, if they don't hit that weight requirement, you know from a physical standpoint, you won't be able to get the maximum output inside this building that day.
Yeah. I mean, imagine one of your offensive linemen, your guard or your tackle, they're supposed to be 305 or 310. All of a sudden, they start falling off in body weight. You have an offensive tackle that weighs 290 pounds in the Big Ten.
That's not going to go well on Saturday. Not on ESPN and Sports Center. Definitely not.
Absolutely not. No, but the players know that there's a standard set, and it's your responsibility to meet that standard. And it's on you and nobody else.
So is there some strength standards? Do you guys, or is it just because the environment's so intense, you're pushing it constantly that you're almost, your strength standard is just, hey, you're going to be the best, and that number's going to be pretty damn high.
Well, we make it very clear. Every year, we break down the year into thirds for training purposes. So we got our winter, we got our summer, and then we got in season. So winter, we said.
Now your in season sometimes goes to the winter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's very true. Our winter, we always have goals. So it's very clear. We always post them for the players. This is your goal for the end of winter for your body weight, for your 225 test, for your bench press, for your squat, your vertical jump, your broad jump, all these tests that we have, so you have a standard. And so it's very clear for that kid. So they know what the expectation is, they know what their goals are. And so when they come in here, they see all their goals posted, they know what it is. They know what it has to be at the end of the winter. Same thing for summer. You know what your goals are. It's posted right there. So if you're a young linebacker, and if you're here and you weigh 216 and your goal weight's 223, that's a bad deal.
Yeah.
And you have to hit all these requirements for your vertical, your broad. At the end of the semester, when we analyze, I could say, okay, your young linebacker only hit 2 out of his 10 goals.
Wow.
Now I have another linebacker that did everything we asked him to do, went as hard as he could. He hit 9 out of 10 goals.
That's going to change that environment, though.
Now is that kid adding value to that unit? Absolutely. Is the kid that did 2 out of 10 really adding value to that unit?
He's going to pull away from it.
No, he's going to pull that unit down a little bit.
And the guys within that unit probably jump on him.
So that cultivate your leadership. So you have that leadership that demands this, and the biggest response that you'll get is from player to player. So if I'm a senior and you're a freshman, and then you got your coach, barking orders, okay, who's it going to be the most from? It's going to be the most from me.
Yeah.
Because I've been through it. I lived it. I was in your shoes 3 or 4 years ago, and now I get the opportunity to teach you like some upperclassmen taught me, and that's real life application.
Absolutely. And it's a shortcut. It allows you the opportunity to kind of live through someone else's experiences, live through someone else's education. It takes them, and it accelerates their learning curve. It accelerates their process. And if you do that year in and year out, then your seniors are going to be in a better situation than your last year seniors, and then your incoming freshmen and sophomore are going to be that much faster to adapt to the culture and create a better experience. So that being said, incoming freshmen, that's a wake-up call.
I can tell you right now, the little trickle-down effect that's been going on here has already been applied to our freshmen.
And they haven't even enrolled in, really.
Yeah. Our freshmen got here mid-June. And they've been training for 8 weeks, and they've done a phenomenal job because of that leadership in those unit rooms. So they keep their mouth shut, they open up their ears, and they go hard.
Yeah, it's it's unrecruiting, right? It's re-education. Yeah, it's de-recruiting. I think what's really interesting is that it comes down to just being great every single day. Like you talked about creating friction. You talked about starting with a positive environment. You talked about basically something from an outside source creating an experience that is not necessarily pleasant, but it's good for their long-term goal. And doing that every single day, I think, is a game changer. So
yeah, everybody posts. Everyone talks about being great and doing this and doing that. I get social media. I get it. Our players get it. That's sometimes how you got to connect with players. You got to text them. You got to FaceTime them. You got to, send them a video or send them a picture that was something funny that you guys talked about, when you're upstairs eating breakfast, and then you connect with them that way. I get kids posting stuff online. They post that they passed the conditioning test or they beat their 225. They want to post it. They want that instant gratification. But when life and outside distractions go on, they're not necessarily locked in and focused in here. So it's your job to dial them in and then realize that this is the only thing that matters right now. That this exercise is the only thing that matters right now.
Yeah.
This says the only thing that matters right now. If you approach every single exercise, every single block of work, part of the workout, every single workout of that week, you're going to continue to go like this. But it's for the guys that get distracted and, okay, you just wasted a day. You just wasted a day. We had 90 days to train, and say you wasted one out of three of those days.
It's 30%.
30%.
That's 30%. 30%. You're not going to be ready for, for Saturday. That's for damn sure.
You just wasted 30 workouts.
It's interesting because there's a lot. There's a lot that takes place, but it's maturing quickly as a young 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, kid, and you physically you're a grown man. These guys come in, they're physical specimens, but mentally they're not ready. And it seems like 23-year-old, 22-year-olds are mentoring 19-year-olds, and then it's just top down. As you guys have, a head coach that gets it, you have a strength coach that gets it, you have kids that when they come in, the seniors know that they're not going to be able to be at their peak if that freshman isn't pushing them. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to see that dynamic. But what's really cool is you just being here, there's something about this place.
Yeah.
You want to work, right? You don't want to really do the social stuff because you know that at the end of the day, I got to be 100% here when I'm on that bar. That whatever weight that's on there, I can't lie about that come game day. I can't lie about being in shape if I'm gassed in the fourth quarter, and you guys have never been there. So you've never been in a situation where it might have been tough and it's pressure, but with everybody together, you've been able to pull that out because you're mentally ready, but yet you're physically prepared at the same time.
I mean, the training, from a training standpoint, they're always going to be physically prepared. The way that we train is we feel our players are under recovered. So they're not getting enough sleep, they're not hydrating enough, they're not eating properly, they're not taking that time outside the weight room to properly recover. The training is going to be the training. It's going to be tough. Every day you're going to have to spill it, and that's the standard set. And every day there's going to be some sort of conflict and friction that's going to create, obviously, you're like, wow, I can't even imagine that happening. But it happened. That kid got through that.
Yep.
It's not going to be always work to rest ratio. It's not going to be 1 to 3. It's not going to be like that. You know what? Every day we throw curveballs at these kids. We throw them events, and we look for their response. And their response determines that outcome.
Any quitting going on in here?
Upperclassmen won't let them quit.
Won't let it happen, huh?
Won't let it quit. The culture has been established. Upperclassmen won't let them quit.
That's awesome. Coach, thank you. I really appreciate your time, and there's a ton of information that I just learned too, but this is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool place. It's an awesome place to see what it's like to be around people that are just winners. You built a culture, and just being a part of that, both as a player, and then transitioning into a coach, it's cool to give back to the community, so I want to say thank you, and I think that it's going to be fun to see what you guys do over the next few years.
Absolutely. I'm pretty excited for it. We have
absolutely
a great group of guys, and preseason's only 10 days away, so we're ready to rock and roll.
Well, you guys got a lot of information. I mean, the only thing I can tell you is, hey, you got to create some friction. You got to get your mind right. And it's all going to come around being around people that want those same things for you. You've got to be great at some level, and you're not going to get that by being around, again, the 99% of people that won't be in a place like this. If you don't want greatness, if you don't want that opportunity, it's just not going to happen. So, Coach, thank you. Appreciate your time. Absolutely.